So welcome everyone to the JA show. We have a very special guest today, but before I introduce you to him, we have to announce our special sponsor for this episode. This episode is sponsored by CSG Solutions. At CSG, they ignite data and empower people through their proprietary methodology called Align, Design, Empower. And is to consult with clients and produce data-driven software analytics solutions. They align technology investments with business strategy. They design people-centered and data-driven technology solutions. And they empower people through ongoing coaching and partnerships. That is so key today as well. So to get in touch with CSG, visit their website. It's www.csgsolutions.com, and they can transform your business with data-driven technology solutions, empowering you to deliver results. And so with that great introduction of our great sponsor, we introduced a very, very special guest today. I'm so excited, knowing about his story, understanding the triumphs and also what he has to share and how he gives back to the community. I'm so honored and so humbled to introduce our special guest. His name is Alex Brockman. When you think about inspiration, Alex, he is the person. So welcome, Alex.
Thank you, Laura. It's a pleasure to be on the show, and I thank you for everything that you're doing and putting so much hope and inspiration out into the community, and it's definitely needed. And so I just thought that this was a great opportunity to get together with somebody who's very like-minded, and so I very much appreciate everything that you and the team at the JA show are doing.
Such an honor, such an honor. We love to share people like you as well who making a difference in the business world, making a difference in the community, in the lives of people and also families and also your friends. And so we're going to start talking about his career. I think it's important to outline a lot of the achievements that he has. It really stands out and it resonates with us as well. His character and his integrity, which we're going to talk more about that too. So his career, it's been focused on growth, marketing, and brand transformation, change management for some of the largest corporates in America. And that's including the Bank of America, Wells Fargo Advisors, Newground, and CSG Solutions. Now, he's been a top performer in all of the companies he works in. So he's going to share with us some of those key ingredients on how he continues on with his success. And then he also knows the importance. We know today as well, the environment is changing, the economy, the digital experience that we have with how we work, how we relate to one another. So he's also going to talk about that. And on a personal level, so excited, but he has such a commitment to give back to the community. He really does. So he and his wife, they give back to the community, and they do this through a church that they planted, faith, full of faith, and they focus their efforts on families and neighborhoods impacted by addiction, incarceration, and poverty. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So you can see they have a heart to share, a heart to give, and a heart to make a difference in people's lives. And we all have an ultimate purpose. I strongly believe we all have an ultimate purpose, and we need to know that mission that is set out for us. And so, we're going to start with, this is such an important, it's so personal for each one of us. So Alex, for you, how would you define success for you? What does it mean for you, for your career and also life?
I think it's a great question. And so for me, whenever I think about success, I'm trying to figure out if that's something where it just expires on me or if it's something that benefits others as well. And it's one of the reasons that I've actually chosen to wear this vest every single day. It's a weird vest. It has a hood on it. It doesn't really go with anything. But the vest, to me, what it does is it makes sure that every action that I take, I'm making sure that I'm vested in the success of the people that I'm interacting with. And so it's something that it's quirky and it's weird, but it's something that honestly, it helps me on a daily basis. Before I leave the house, whenever I put it on, I'm making sure that everything that I'm doing, either professionally for CSG or if it's just going and seeing a friend or hanging out with the neighbors across the street, I know that looks a little bit different now during everything that's going on, but
Mm,
it's a reminder to me that I am to be vested in the success of everybody that I'm interacting with, and not just self-seeking. And that's one of the things that we'll get into later. But that's one of just the character defects of some of
mm,
the people that I deal with on a daily basis, and that I am personally, is making sure that I'm getting out of selfishness and thinking selflessly. I'm thinking more
mm.
about the benefit of others rather than just how that looks and how that impacts me personally. So that for me is how I define success. If it has a butterfly effect or a spider effect
Mm,
of
mm.
of impacting other people in a positive way, then I know that that defines success for me.
That is truly an amazing answer. And it's something that all of us can reflect on, especially thinking about others. Because when you see throughout life, the most successful people are the ones that they give. They truly give
Yeah.
without expecting, and they give out of their heart as well. It is part of their character, it's what they wear. And I love how you spoke about in terms of the vest.
Yeah.
and and so leading on to that, I know that's one of the ingredients of success, being able to give, being able to think
hmm
about others as well, how you show up. And so, what are some of the other ingredients to success for being a top performer?
Well, it's for being a top performer in the workplace. I think you really have to determine what it is that um, you're trying to do as it relates to the professional career. Somebody told me early on, just try and figure out what it is that you're good at. What are the things that you contribute? What are the things that you feel like the creator has kind of uniquely given you these skill sets, and then
Mm,
figure out where those are best utilized. I think that just makes it so that you're not swimming upstream
mm,
uh, for trying to figure out how you're going to earn a living. I think we're all given these unique skill sets, and if we find out ways that we can leverage those skills and earn a paycheck, I think that's a benefit for me. I know that just being a people person and wanting to get to know people and really uncover what it is that is holding them back from achieving what they want to, but and that's personal and professional. I think that that's the way that makes me a good marketer, and that also makes me a good salesperson, because as a true salesperson, what I'm trying to understand is what's the business, or what's the person trying to accomplish, and what's holding them back. And as a marketer, really, I think the big thing that a lot of marketers are doing are they're just trying to push the company message, as opposed to what are the buyers actually
mm,
talking about. And so being able to know both sides of that, being able to know the buyer's journey, as well as being able to know, what's the right format, how should we be saying things, what's the narrative that we should create that basically matches up with exactly what people are talking about, and problems that they're having, and things that they're looking up on the internet, and things that and problems that they're trying to solve. And so, trying to determine how you would achieve success personally, I think you have to take a good honest look inside and understand what is it, what comes easily to you, what comes naturally. And if you're doing things that are not necessarily, they don't come naturally to you, then maybe it's time to take a look and see if there's something else to do.
that is so powerful. That is so powerful. And it's something that I also share with a lot of my audience is you have to know what's true for you, what comes
Right.
natural for you, what is that gift that you've been given, because everyone has that gift. It could be sometimes you think, what is it? But you knew straight away that you're good with people. You know how to relate to them. And even with sales, the thing is you have to find what's a win-win solution. And it's
hmm
amazing how you spoke about those different scenarios. And this is how you win. This is the best strategy, really understanding and aligning with the customers that you work with. That's truly, truly, truly incredible. and and now with brand transformation, I know it's
hmm
one of your great, in terms of one of your great qualities as well. It's really understanding it's so important today. It's so important today. So, what do you think companies need to do, customers need to do when they think about brand transformation? What actions do they need to take?
That's such a great question. It looks different for everybody, as I'm sure you and your listeners know. Everybody has to go on their unique journey, but I think it can be boiled down into a simple process that I had the benefit of learning from some of the great minds at Newground whenever I was there for about 3 years. And so they boil this down into a methodology that they call Imagine. And so brand transformation is truly trying to identify who you are, what's your identity as an organization, as a company. Who are you? Who do you want to be in 5, 10, 15 years? And then you try and figure out who you serve, what's your market. And it's, what specific demographic, what specific group of individuals or companies do you serve as a company? And then you determine where are they located, where are they located physically, where are they located digitally, which is especially important now. And then how do you get noticed by them, right? What's your initial offering to them? And so once you understand who you are as an organization, who you serve, where they can be found, how do you get noticed by them, what's your initial offering to them, then you can go into the latter half, which is trying to identify how you continue to nurture and educate not only yourself but your existing client base and your prospect base. And then what is the experience that you stage for your clients that truly is your differentiating factor? So the transformation
Absolutely. Mm,
element of it
mm.
is something where you're going from, offering services or goods or commodities, and you're vaulting into this thing that Joseph Pine and James Gilmore have written about. It's called the experience economy. And so when you set up and you stage an experience for somebody, it's something that is absolute, it's your differentiating factor. It's the thing that is either photo worthy or makes it so that people remember, that they will never forget the opportunity that they had to speak with Laura Ribeiro, or they will never forget the time they went to Disney World, or they'll never forget the first interaction they had with a Starbucks barista whenever they got a specified drink made especially for them that they couldn't get anywhere else. It's truly a differentiating factor, and so everyone has the opportunity to create their differentiating factor. It's just a matter of how hard you're looking, and how willing you are to take the steps prior to that to make it so that it truly is something that can be a differentiating factor for you.
That's so true. And you mentioned the word imagine. And I think
Hmm.
that's one of the key things that you have to think about as you're doing the brand transformation. A lot of the most powerful forces in the world are intangible. So when you think about imagine, you do have to think about who you
Right.
are as an organization, how you can connect, with your customers as well, and the experience. Absolutely, the experience. People don't forget
Hmm.
experiences. And you mentioned Disney. Since when I was a little girl, I'm from Sydney, I used to watch the movies, and the movies was the best experience. And I had this dream,
Hmm.
this vision, this imagination. And that's the kind of thoughts that you need to create, as you mentioned as
Right.
well, for your customers. What do they think about you? How do they remember you? And
Hmm.
about that, when I visited the website, CSG's website, and something that I straight away remembered, I saw the chat box and it had your face, your professional photo of you,
Hmm.
and it
Yeah.
showed that personalization. It was a real person. It showed your name. They could go on LinkedIn and look you up. So I see that's also another element with customer service today. You have to be so, personal, even
Absolutely.
so virtually. So what are other ways do you think that customers can, customer service, particular customer service that can be differentiated today?
So one of the ways that we do this today, especially with everybody, being in kind of mandated work from home here in the States, and it's definitely something that people have been trying to figure out how to do this. But um, typically what I do is I try and make everything in person as possible.
Mhm.
If we're doing a demonstration, or if we're delivering a proposal, I try and get together with somebody face to face to do those things, to see their interaction, to see the body language, to see all the different things that I can pick up on, just what you would see in person meeting. However, with kind of work from home restrictions putting on that right now, I've tried to translate all of that into having Zoom meetings and having WebEx and GoToMeetings and any video conference capability, so that we can go through, either go through that proposal or go through the demonstration, and I can still see the interaction. I can still see some of the reactions that people are having to the content that's being discussed, or any of the topics of conversation. And so the way that it makes it easier to have everybody separated is if you make it so that it feels personal, where you
Mhm.
make personalized events and personalized engagements, especially now, and it's definitely going to be something that carries on into the future. But I do think, um, you know, personalizing the digital experience as best as you possibly can. There's really not going to be anything that completely replaces in-person engagements and in-person interaction. However, I do think that technology has come a long way, and we're way better served today than we were 20 or 30
Mm.
years ago with the technology that is available to us. So I think it's hard. It's not easy. I think everybody's learning right now. Those are just some of the things that we're doing. We're doing as much video and as much digital video conferencing as possible to make it so that we have as close to an in-person engagement as we can. As much as we can replicate it, we're going to give it our very best, and we're taking the things that work, and we're continuing to do those. And then if something fails, we're getting rid of it quick, and we're going to continue to test the equation and figure out what the next best thing is.
That's so great to hear that when you have a plan and you see it's not working, you need to find a way on how to tweak that. And today,
Right.
because I'm going to ask you about a question about data, we have the data available to us, so you can see within
Right.
a week straight away, is this working? Okay, now let's switch up because you've got that amount of data. Now with the
Right.
data world that we are, data driven world, how do you see that changing as well with the access of information that we have? Making those quick decisions.
Right. So I think in the past, people would, they would get dressed today with information from yesterday's weather. Everything is more real time now. So what I mean by that analogy is just everything used to be looking in hindsight. Everything was looking back at last month or last quarter, and then making decisions for the future based off of that information. But now with data being more real time than it ever has been before, you can make decisions right now based off of the information that's available right now. And so data is just growing exponentially. I think there's going to be, I think the figure is 175 terabytes worth of data produced annually every year, just in 5 years.
Mm.
I think there was like 6 gigabytes worth of information produced from the beginning of time up until 1950, and that was with the Library of Congress. That was with everything, and so we're just exploding everything that we've known about the amount of information that is produced organically. And so it's all about, how do you harmonize that? How do you distract yourself from the noise and make decisions based off of the relevant and important things that matter to you and to your business on a daily basis? Because there's no shortage of data. It's a matter of what data is actually important, and what data actually serves you, and what data can you control, as opposed to all these things that are outside of your control, and trying to make decisions based off of things that you don't have any sway over, or you don't have any input in, that is going to negatively impact the decisions that you ultimately make. And so uh, data has never been more available, but it's incumbent on the organization to determine what data is actually relevant to them, and what data is significant to them, to make a real
Mm.
lasting impact on their business, not only today, not only this quarter, but next year, 5 years from now, things like that.
That is so profound, so profound. And one of the key elements you said, that you need to focus on what you can control. And
Right.
that's a key thing as well. We have all this amount of data, but then once we receive that, we need to also understand, what do we control? How can we
Right.
think about changing our strategy as well in line with that? And it's such an important part, thinking about the data strategy for the organization.
Right.
It's so, so key. I know the industry keeps booming with data science, and even with the technology solutions that you provide as well. So it's a great, great thinking that you've also provided there. Now, we're going to switch more about you personally in terms of character, because people also remember character. Now, you've founded between 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous and its application to professional development. Now, when I saw that, I'm like, you have to share more about that.
So what started as a promise to my sponsor, and so in Alcoholics Anonymous, we have mentors, and we call those
Mm.
people sponsors. And so I have a sponsor, and then I also have the privilege of sponsoring about 5 people right now. And so what started as something where I made a promise to my sponsor. I was kind of whining and complaining about, not having the ability to celebrate my 9-year sober birthday or my 10-year sober birthday, and kind of, dreading, being stuck on the road or doing a 10-hour travel day, or, being stuck in, some part of the Midwest. I just said, hey, this year, none of those things are going to happen. And I'm going to make it a point to give back to as many people as I possibly can. And I was looking at it and just kind of thinking and considering, what is it that I could do to really match up all of the blessings and the learnings that I've had in the last 11 years of being sober. How is it that I can leverage that and bring that into a community that I really value and appreciate, and that's my
Amazing.
LinkedIn community. And so I had seen, leading up to November 6th, I had seen a ton of people talking about mental health awareness, mental health, problems. There's people taking big leaves of absences for drug addictions and opioid addictions, and just personal self care. People are taking time to take self care, and they've just been burnt out. And so I figured, is there a way that I can connect the principles and the fundamentals of the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, and just agnosticize, just make it, completely make it so that it was available to anybody, not only the person that may be watching that is in recovery themselves, but what about the business professional that's just looking for, maybe a different way of looking at their business, or looking at the way that they operated on a daily basis. And so that was how it started. And so, it was just a promise to myself. It was a promise to my sponsor, and a promise that I also extended to my sponsees. And I was just looking at it and saying, all right, as opposed to celebrating just myself, how can I extend this into, other
Mm.
people as well? And so, what started as just a one day kind of, hey, let me put this out there and see if anybody reaches out, it extended into really breaking down every day for 12 days, the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, and addressing it to two main people groups: the people that were in recovery, that were trying to figure out how to be sober in a professional world, as well as, just either the business professional, or the person who has not found recovery yet, or is
Mm.
struggling with some sort of mental health, or drug addiction, or substance abuse. And so I just tried to lay it out for anybody and make it so that anyone was able to approach this content and
Mm.
consume it, and maybe think about a situation differently. So that was the big challenge. And so, I went through and just kind of broke all of those down from, what I call step zero, being willingness. You have to be willing to consider any of this, right?
Mm.
In order to change, you have to first be willing to go through the process that it's going to take. It's not easy to change. It's not easy to consider another way of doing things, but you can't do anything without being willing to put in the work. And so that was the step zero. And then I went through step 1 through 12. And so it was a fascinating experiment that allowed me to connect with people. I think the numbers that I looked at recently, I was able to connect with people in over 40 states here in the United States. I was
Wow.
able to
Mm.
connect with people in 15 different countries. It was just an absolute, uh, a mind blowing experience for me, putting my personal story out there and extending it to anyone who would like to consume it. And the reach was incredible. And so it was a true blessing. And it really was, just trying to be selfless and not think, so much about myself on a day where you're just supposed to celebrate and kind of collect handshakes and praises. I just said, well, how can I give that back? And so it was a truly wonderful experience, and an experiment that I'll look back on for years to come. It was great.
Absolutely. You're giving me shivers right now just hearing that story. I'm getting like goosebumps. Um, yes. So you said so many keywords there, and I'm always listening to the words because you said give. You said
Hmm.
give. When you think about that, you are giving without any expectation. You had that. You were so grateful. So you gave. And then another key word you said promise. So whenever see, I'm getting emotional now because it's so touching because I know the power of one person can change millions of lives, thousands of lives. Sometimes it's that one person, but you truly can make a difference in someone's life. And when you said promise, you promise to yourself. And that's the thing. Sometimes we think about we want to make a difference in someone's life or other people's lives, but we need to start with that promise. That's where it starts,
Mm,
that decision and
yeah.
having that desire with wanting to do it. And then you realize it was about the people. It really was about the people. How 47 states. I mean, that's practically all of America. You can say there's 15 states and 15 different countries. And that's the true power when you follow out, the gifts that you have with connecting with one another, sharing your story, being very authentic. That is how you can everyone can make that difference. And I'm so glad that you
Mm,
shared that story with us, because that overwhelm of that gratefulness where you think, you can look back. And I also remember when I started with my LinkedIn journey, same thing happened. I started sharing, and thousands of messages just went into my personal message, my inbox, and they said, "Laura, I can't believe you are, changing my life. All
mm,
the things that you're saying, it's resonating with me so well. I'm thinking so much better now." And you realize, especially with the world that we're in today, virtual, you think, everyone seems so far apart, but you can connect with people, through your words, through your actions. So I'm so glad, I'm so happy, so joyful that you shared that experience, because that's such a great example. And when we think about purpose, you are another great example when we think about purpose and legacy. And I'm 100% on board. So no, I know you've shared this with me, and you said our role on this earth is much bigger than earning a paycheck.
mm,
We are to impact the lives of others for the better and help see solutions that they may not see.
mm.
And so how did you come to that revelation that yes, this is so true?
Honestly, I didn't stumble across it myself. It was something that I've had a tremendous amount of people that have impacted my life in a very big way. But one of my sponsors told me a long time ago, whenever I was going through the process of making amends, and I knew that I was going to have to go back and um, repay the debt of
Mm,
things that I had caused many years ago. But he said that a paycheck is not worth your serenity, and a job is not worth your mental well-being and your spiritual condition. And so um, you know our purpose is much bigger than just what's on our business card or what's on our
mhm,
LinkedIn profile. I think that the most important thing is really understanding how is it that our creator made us, what are the unique skill sets that he's given us, and how can that then go and multiply itself.
mhm,
If it's just expiring on me, if it's terminating on me and it's all about Alex, then I'm doing a disservice to the one that created me to go and give that away freely. And so, for me, I see it, kind of it works itself out both professionally and personally, and in the world of sobriety. If I'm going at it and truly focused on the person that I'm sitting across from, if I'm truly focused on you, Laura, and what you're saying, and the things that matter to you most, then I'll be able to determine, is there anything that I can do to contribute to that? Or if I can't personally, is there anyone that I know that you would definitely have, a um, positive interaction with? They would be the one that would be able to address that for you. And so if neither of those things, if I can't or if I don't know anybody, I'm going to just let you know, hey, I don't think this is a great match. And then we go about our way, and at least we know. But I'm not going to try and sell you something, or I'm not going to try and uh
mhm,
smooth that over to make it so that, hey, there's going to be some benefit to me in the end. I think that the that's the recipe for having a very toxic client list. That's a recipe for having bad relationships personally. That's
mhm,
the recipe for not having really any fruit come from any of the service work that you do
mhm,
outside of your work. And so if I'm truly looking at it and thinking about the person that I'm sitting across from, and I'm truly trying to find out what matters to them and determine if there's any way that I can be of service and help accelerate their mission, then I think that we're all going to be better off for that. But if not, then I'm just going to say, hey, I don't think that there's anything that I can do for you, and they'll at
mm.
least know that I'm being sincere, and I'm not going to try and make something where nothing is there.
That's right. It's also being very, very honest. And I think that's a key thing as well today. We have to be very honest, very transparent. And also,
Hmm.
trust is such a key thing as well. And so, yeah, a great person, they said about you, the first things that come to mind about Alex is character and integrity. And you dedicate your life to make lives easier for others. I mean, wow. And you never seem to have a bad day. So, how do you ensure that you have a good day every day?
So I've been thinking a lot about this on recently, Laura, and it's
Mm,
I realize that every single day that you and I are given the same amount of resources every single day. Our checking accounts may look different and our net worth may look different, but the real most valuable asset that you and I are given every single day is the amount of seconds that we're given. And so there's a maximum of 86,400 seconds that you and I are both given. They're deposited into the account every single day. And it's a matter of how we invest that asset. It's not how we spend it, it's how we invest it. Where am I investing my time? And so, as far as how I try and make sure that every single day that I have the best day possible, and I'm not, this negative Nancy walking around and just bringing negativity from everyone. The way that I do that is by waking up extra early, and I have to make sure that I get up and that I, tell my creator, I appreciate everything that you've given me. I appreciate every opportunity that you've given me. I appreciate the breath that's in my lungs. I appreciate the blood that's coursing through my veins. I appreciate the roof that's over my head. I appreciate the air that is going around. And so I appreciate all of those different things, and I center myself and I acknowledge that, and then I just kind of say, hey, I'm available to be of service to anyone today. How is it that I can be of service? How is it that what you've given me can be freely given to benefit other people? And so I don't hold on to things too
mm.
tightly, and especially as it relates to tangible goods, money in the bank, things like that. If I have it and you need it, let's go. I'm more than willing to be of service and to help you out and to do things like that. But it's more importantly, it's the time. Where am I investing my
Mm.
time? And so, I'm more than grateful for my beautiful wife and my two precious daughters. And so I try
They are
and
so
make sure that
beautiful.
I try and make sure that the time that we have on a daily basis isn't something where I have my phone out all day long and I'm looking at emails, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm doing every little thing possible to make it so that we're selling things at all hours of the night. Once I come in to the house after working, then that my workday is done, and I'm truly investing in the A company, right?
Mm.
Whenever 9 to 5 is my B shift, and my A shift is from 6 a.m. to 7:30 in the morning, and then from 6 p.m. until everyone goes to bed. And so that's how I feel like I have harmony, I have balance, and I have the ability to understand where, hey, my life has a number of different things going on, but I feel like I'm able to harmonize and be present where I am, as opposed to feeling like I'm always two steps behind. And so the recipe for me to have a good day is to wake up early and make sure that my creator and I are connected, and that I've given my life to God every single day, and that I'm just expressing the willingness to be of service at whatever cost that may be. And so um, for me,
Such
that's what's worked for me so far. And like I said, if it's not working, I try and change it quickly, because we don't know how much time we have here.
it's so powerful. Time. We all have the same amount of time every day. It is one of the most precious resources. And it's amazing how you're using it wisely. You get up, you're
Mhm.
conscious about getting up early. You're conscious about being grateful about the people and your faith as well. And then also your attitude towards it. And so having the attitude towards everything, and it's a choice. It's
Mhm.
truly a choice. So it's amazing how you step out and you choose to be grateful. You choose to be thankful. You choose how you use your time in terms of investing. And you're conscious with your words. You didn't say spend, you said, how do I invest my time? And that's very
Mhm.
beautiful. And you also spoke about your daughters. And that's something about Alex. Like, he is who he is. You can go on his LinkedIn, you see his family, and I think it's such a beautiful thing that you do that as well, because it shows your true self. And then, so on that, in terms of relationships, so you have a special gift of developing and nurturing relationships. This is what people around you say as well. And they've said that you can walk in a room full of strangers, and an hour later, you are everyone's best friend, literally. So, how do you maintain those relationships? How do you establish those relationships? It's so key. We talk about, I know we spoke about time is valuable, but relationships
Mm.
are also so valuable.
You know, when you walk into either a happy hour or whenever you walk into a breakout session at a convention, just figuring out, who's looking like they don't have, the six people
Mm,
around them talking to them. Go finding somebody that only has one person talking to them or nobody talking to them, and investing in them. And I think whenever you go and you just with true intention go and start
mm,
a meaningful dialogue with somebody, I think that that has a far greater thing than being somebody that has everybody laughing or has everybody rolling at their jokes. They've got 15 or 20 people around them, but if I can go and have a meaningful conversation with two people in a room full of 100, I would consider that a success at the end of the day, because those two people will then go say, man, I met this guy named Alex, and he really, he gets us, he gets what we're talking about, he gets what we're doing. And then that will start to spread. And then, over time, hopefully I'll get to the 100 by truly just investing in the two.
That's so, so incredible. And I loved how you use the word intention, because when you meet people, it's not about, okay, I'm going to give to see what I receive. No, you are
Mm.
giving. You are giving your time. You are giving, the relationship that you're going to give as well without any intention. And we all know when you do that, miraculous things just start happening when you give. And another thing that you also do, which is giving, in terms of giving, you also provide great shout outs. And I wanted to share this special story about you because there are so many different elements, and I wanted to share each one. And so, there are people in your life that can make a huge difference. Sometimes it just takes that one person. And so you recently shared this story, and in your words, it was big in capital letters, BIG. And that person helped you with your career. Your start, I always say, your start does not always determine your end. Where you are does not determine your end. But we all have this journey, and we have to choose. We have to make the right decisions. We have to know what is our definite purpose. And so
Hmm.
you shared when you were 18 months sober, you put on your best clothes, you went out to find a job, and you wanted to learn from the best. So I love the selection of your words. Share about the rejection journey and be very honest, because you said after getting asked to leave many buildings, you were drenched in sweat from walking in the summer heat. You walked into the Bank of America home mortgage office because you saw someone had a St. Louis Blues license plate.
Yeah, that was, you know, after going through treatment and getting sober and saying, hey, I appreciate everything that the company that I was working for had allowed me to do. They gave me time off to go through treatment, and they came back and they gave me a job and they gave me a purpose and they gave me all those different things. But I was looking to say, man, I want to go and I want to have this next journey. I want to go and learn a new skill set. I want to get into something different. I didn't know where that was going to be. Honestly, I just knew that, hey, big companies must have big smart people, and I want to go learn from them. So I'm going to go to all the big smart companies that I see here in St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm going to try and see if they would just take somebody off the street. And I realized that that was a little bit harder than how it sounded in my head, because I put on the best clothes that I had. They were the clothes that I had from high school hockey, and I didn't have a license at the time, so I was taking transport from place to place. And eventually, after a very long day and not much water, and being out in the heat, I ended up at, like you said, the Bank of America home mortgage office, because I looked outside and there was somebody with a St. Louis Blues license plate, and I said, I'm a hockey player, there's a hockey player in there, let me see if there's anybody that I can go talk to. The receptionist pointed me over to this office, and I came to meet a gentleman named Shannon Lewandowski. And so Shannon was he was a competitive hockey player, and he had started this thing called the Hockey Players Doing Business Together LinkedIn group, I think way back in 2009 or 2010, very early LinkedIn groups days. And so he had created this group, and he, told me about the group, told me to get involved, told me to reach out to people, gave me some tips on how to do that, and was asking, A, how the heck did I find him in his office? But B, what was it that I wanted to do? What was it that came naturally to me? What was it that, if there was is he said, what does success today look like for you? And I
Mm.
just said, maybe having one good conversation with somebody that would be able to point me in the right direction. And he said, I think they're actually hiring across the street at the Bank of America retail branch. You should go over there, figure out what the process is, and then start putting steps in front of it, and I'll be a reference for you. And so that interaction right there back in the summer of 2010 was something that I look back on with just a lot of gratitude, because Shannon didn't have to take that time. He did not
Mm.
have to give me any time of day, but he did. He gave me over 15 minutes of his time and just helped point me in the right direction. He saw a guy that had, you know, I was trying to cast a wide net, and he narrowed my focus on one thing. And he told me to go across the street, do this, do this, do this, and that was something that I will always look back on, that interaction. And I've been grateful enough to build a really good friendship with Shannon. And I think I put in the post that now it feels good to be referring good people his way. I was at 20, and at the state of life I was in, I had nobody that he would want to meet or to interact with. But I've had the benefit of putting some really good, strong people into contact with him, and make some mutually beneficial connections, and some recommendations there. So it's been a great experience, and it's one of those things that the whole Sunday shout out thing, honestly, just came from me a long time ago dreading Monday mornings, because I enjoyed the weekends so much. And it wasn't the partying days. It was the days of, early sobriety. We would just do so much Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. And, when it came to getting ready for the work week again, I kind of got disappointed. I didn't want the weekend to end. And so I developed this thing that I kind of called the Sunday blues. I would get upset that I would have to go back to work on Monday. And I think once I started figuring out what I was good at and what I was passionate about and how I could help other people, that took care of that. But that's the whole Sunday shout out thing is just expressing gratitude for people that have helped me along the way. And so I've
Mm.
backdated those Sunday shout outs going back to early days. Some of the early fundamental things that I learned in my early teen years, all the way through, kind of my introduction to Bank of America. And I'll go through all the people at Bank of America, all the people at Wells Fargo Advisors, all the people at Newground, and hopefully I'll, continue doing that. But it was definitely something that it gives me the opportunity to look back and express the gratitude that I have for people, because that's what we're all about. Is we're
Mm.
built for relationships with each other. And if we neglect those relationships, they're going to decay. But if I continue pouring into those relationships, and recalling the nice things that either they did for me or that I did for them, I think that that's going to be something that just helps me get ready for that work week, and really take off uh, at 150 miles an hour, as opposed to being sluggish on a Monday morning.
That's so, uh, where do I start? It's so powerful, so powerful, so powerful. And, there was one part of the story, and I have to share this part as well, that Shannon actually took the branch manager to lunch to endorse you. He actually went
Mm,
out of his way. I mean, that is true giving. And you can
yeah.
see the kind of character when you go out of your way to help someone else. It's not only giving to them, but you just naturally give back to yourself. You feel so fulfilled because we were made to be also giving, because that's a
Hmm.
part of us, having those human relationships as well. And it's such a great idea where you can turn around a situation. Previously people think, oh, Monday morning, but you turned it around. We can always transform our situations. And so you
Hmm.
think from Sunday, well, I can just be grateful. And not only do you help yourself, but you also help other people. And that's truly, truly, truly profound. And, sometimes I'll say, thank God it's Monday, because we need to be thankful every day. People say, thank God it's Friday.
Right.
We
Yeah.
need to think that,
Yeah.
thank God it's Monday. And we
Absolutely.
always have to be ready, just as you said, with time. How are we investing our time? And even with how we think. So it's amazing how you've been able to always think of, you've been very conscious. You've been always conscious along the way, thinking about how can I switch this on a Sunday? And
Right.
even throughout your week as well, setting it on a great start. And so, what are some of your final words? We've had an amazing discussion. We've spoken about so much with your career. And I know this is going to help so many people. Every
Mm.
single thing that you mentioned, the example of your life. I truly just want to say thank you so much for sharing everything that you have. It's going to help so many people. I know you already have, but we're so honored and so humbled that you can be sharing your whole experience, your stories, your advice, your insights, intelligence, and we're just so grateful.
Thank you. And I think it's truly a testament to the way that you do things, Laura. I mean, every podcast that I've listened to of yours, you call out certain things, and people, I think the common thing that I've heard in all the podcasts is that people think, man, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize I was saying that. And I think that's your gift, is you have the ability to listen with a keen ear, to be able to hear things that people may not have noticed that they've been saying for years and years and years. So that's definitely a gift of yours, and I sincerely appreciate it, and I appreciate you sharing it with us. But um, one of the ways that a lot of people, so kind of bringing it back to uh, the 12 steps and its application to anyone, is people kind of ask, well, how do I get started? The thing that I'll leave you with is a very simple acronym, and it's how. HOW stands for honesty, open mindedness, and willingness. And so, if you're honest with yourself about a situation, about a relationship, about a problem that you have, about anything, if you're honest with yourself, truly honest, then you can create the space to be open minded about possible solutions, possible different ways of doing things, possible different variables to add into the equation, and willing to put in the work that is necessary to see change actually happen. And so, if anybody asks you, how do I change? I feel like I'm stuck. How do I change? How do I get to a different place? Be honest with yourself. Be open to different opportunities, and be willing to put in the work. And I think that addresses the question of how. So, Laura, I sincerely appreciate the platform and the opportunity. It was a great conversation. I think this is something that you're extraordinarily skilled at, and I just really, really, really appreciate the opportunity to be with you on your show today.
Wow. No, thank you. Seriously, thank you. And, for all of our listeners, make sure you connect with him on LinkedIn. His stories are incredible. So on LinkedIn, it's Alexander Brockman. And then we also want to say thanks to the sponsor, CSG Solutions. You can reach out to them on their website. You can see Alex's face as well in the chat box. You can send a message. Make sure you do that. That's www.csgsolutions.com. Make sure you connect with Alex. So it's Alexander Brockman on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we've had a great episode with Alexander Brockman, and you just see how people can make a true difference in your life. They really can. You just need to make that step. You need to make that decision. And just as Alex said before as well, the promise. What promises are you making to yourself? What promises are you making to the world on how you can make an impact? You can make that decision today. Thank you, listeners.